Mrs. Whitfield, your husband hired me to find you.
On this episode of Old Joe's Reminiscence, probe agent C.R. Grover only has 4 days to locate a missing heiress before she loses her inheritance, and maybe her life. Doug McClure stars. I'm about to review episode 13 of Search, and I have to admit, right off the bat, I don't remember a single thing about this episode. And that's hard to believe since Search was my favorite show when it first aired. This episode was first shown on Wednesday, January 10th, 1973. I guess it's not easy to remember some things after 50 years, huh? Well, join me as I watch it again for the first time. And just a reminder, there will be spoilers. So if you haven't seen the episode, I suggest that you pause this video and race off to watch A Honeymoon to Kill. The teaser didn't jog any memories for me, so let's get right into the episode. The opening is very unusual in that it goes on for several different scene changes. I kept anticipating the camera to pull back and reveal probe control, but scene change after scene change continued. We see an establishing shot of Castella Lucchesi atop a hill. Conte Carmine Lucchesi is a wealthy elderly man confined to a wheelchair. Carmine Lucchesi is played by George Coulouris.
George Coulouris was born in Manchester, England on October 1, 1903. He took drama classes in London and appeared on stage in 1925. He made the trip across the pond and hit Broadway in 1929, and he made it to Hollywood in 1933. He joined Orson Welles' Mercury Theatre, and Welles took Coulouris to Hollywood for Citizen Kane. He was busy in Hollywood films throughout the 1940s. He returned to London, where he did stage and film appearances through the 1950s. George made many television appearances on both continents. He kept busy in the industry into his 80s. George Coulouris died on April 25, 1989.
He's waiting for his daughter after he has summoned her to his room. She just got married.
Carla, come in. Isn't she lovely, Stuart? Isn't she lovely?
You sent for me, Father. Why?
Carla Lucchesi Whitfield is played by Luciana Paluzzi.
Luciana Paluzzi was born in Rome, Italy on June 10, 1937. Her film debut came in 1953 when she appeared in an Italian film. Her first Hollywood role was a walk-on part in the 1954 film Three Coins in the Fountain. Luciana bounced back and forth between Italy and the US throughout her lengthy acting career. She is best known for playing an assassin in the Bond film Thunderball. On television, you may have seen her appear in dozens of shows, including Bonanza, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., The Girl from U.N.C.L.E., The $6 Million Man, and Hawaii Five-0. She retired from acting in the late 1970s and she went into business for herself.
The elder Lucchesi apologizes for missing the wedding. He hands his daughter a wedding gift of $500,000. Carla rips it up. What?
Goodbye, Father.
Carla!
Thank you for the wedding.
I do it because it gives me pleasure. Don't you understand? Can't you believe I love you?
After she leaves the room, Carmine is left alone with his advisor, Stuart Upton, played by Peter Bromillo.
Peter Bromillo was born April 21, 1933 in Cheshire, England. His first acting credit was a part on British television series Knight Errant Limited in 1960. Coming to Hollywood, he appeared on the big screen as Sir Sagramore in the 1967 film Camelot. That same year he made 3 television appearances, the most notable being The Man from U.N.C.L.E. He continued to appear in minor roles on television and film through the early 1990s. Peter Bromelow died on October 16, 1994.
Why she not go to the honeymoon? She's clever, headstrong girl. If she go to Luxembourg.
Oh, I think you're overreacting, Signor. And don't worry. She won't go anywhere near Luxembourg.
Okay, so right now I'm lost. What is so important about Luxembourg? We see Carla packing. Someone is spying on her from a tree outside her window. We see a gun. The first shot hits a mirror on the wall behind Carla. Then, without explanation, we cut to file footage of some Grand Prix auto racing. What's that got to do with Carla being shot at? We finally pull back to see the monitors at probe control. It's about time. VCR Cameron and CR Grover are watching a tape of a pristine-looking race car being pushed on stage. Carla Lucchese is in the driver's seat. She pulls off her helmet and she looks perfectly lovely.
Third place finisher at the Le Mans 24 Hours with co-driver Kurt Von Hecht.
Although not impossible, for there had been women driving at Le Mans as early as 1930, they weren't placing third. At any rate, I would have expected her face to be somewhat dirty and her hair to be mussed up after a long, grueling 24-hour race in an open-topped car.
She can be my co-driver anytime she wants to.
Yesterday at Castello Lucchese, Carla Lucchese was joined in holy matrimony to our employer, Julian Whitfield.
He continues to introduce Grover to photos of Carla's father, the head of the Lucchese Industries cartel, her brother Luigi, and her stepmother. Luigi Lucchese is played by Rudy Solari.
Rudolph James Solari was born in Modesto, California on December 21, 1934. Rudolph Rudy Solari's first appearances on television started with 4 minor parts in 1957. There was a sprinkling of small roles over the years. He appeared in 16 episodes of The Wackiest Ship in the Army as gunner's mate Sherman Nagurski. He was Casino in 26 episodes of Garrison's Guerrillas. Rudy Solari appeared as Salish in the Paradise Syndrome episode of Star Trek. He appeared in many series, including Medical Center, Mission Impossible, The Sixth Sense, Beretta. 4 episodes of Police Story, Charlie's Angels, The Bionic Woman, The Incredible Hulk, Police Squad. And 4 episodes of Quincy M.E. Rudy Solari died on April 23, 1991.
The stepmother, Contessa Penny Lucchese, is played by Antoinette Bauer.
Antoinette Bauer was born on September 30, 1932 in Baden-Baden, Germany. She was schooled in London, worked with refugees in Germany, and moved to Canada with her family. She started working in radio and progressed to television at the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. She enjoyed working in the theatre and on television in Canada and New York. Opportunities to act in Hollywood presented themselves, but she wasn't fond of traveling for the parts. She bit the bullet and moved to the West Coast when the television industry was taking off in the 1960s. Acting as an occasional guest star leaves a lot of downtime, which she filled by taking classes at Santa Monica College. She was active in the industry into the early 1990s. You may have seen her in dozens of television series and a few films over the years. Series such as The Twilight Zone, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., The Wild Wild West, I Spy, several episodes of The Fugitive, as Sylvia on the Catspaw episode of Star Trek, Mannix, Hawaii Five-0, Get Smart, several episodes of Hogan's Heroes, several episodes of Mission Impossible, Columbo, The $6 Million Man, Kojak, and Murder, She Wrote. Her last appearance on television was as Fox Devlin in Neon Rider.
Funny, the latest Contessa is only 5 years younger than the stepdaughter, and she's even closer in age to the stepson. But who's judging? I gotta hand it to the old guy, though.
Well, the wedding was televised over a closed circuit for Carmine Lucchese.
Carla and Julian were planning to go on their honeymoon through Switzerland and the Black Forest, with a stop at Luxembourg 5 days after the wedding.
She's disappeared?
After somebody tried to kill her.
He jets off to Paris. C.R. Grover is met at the airport in Paris by Julian Whitfield, played by Gary Clark.
Gary Clark was born Clark Frederick Lamoro on August 16, 1933 in Los Angeles. His first acting credit was on an episode of Jane Wyman Presents the Fireside Theater in 1957. He did 2 TV appearances and 3 movies in 1958. He started to get steady work acting in film and TV. He appeared as Dick Hamilton in 17 episodes of the detective series Michael Shayne in the early 1960s. After that he went back to making random guest appearances. He landed the role of Steve Hill and appeared in 63 episodes of the TV western The Virginian, starring Doug McClure. He wrote the scripts that introduced the character of Jaime the Robot to the Get Smart series. Gary appeared as Captain Richards in 17 episodes of Hondo in 1967. He has been active in the industry as an actor, writer, director, or producer for decades. Gary Clark is currently living in Phoenix, Arizona.
I don't get why Grover's being so klutzy here. McClure's acting here is simply slapstick ridiculous.
The whole thing is insane.
Grover asked what I've wanted to know all along.
Well, why Luxembourg? I kind of stand the Swiss Alps, Black Forest, but Luxembourg?
There's a trust fund there in Carla's name. It was a tax evasion scheme. If she's not there to claim the assets on a certain date, everything reverts back to her father. And that is why they don't want her to go to Luxembourg.
They can't wait to collect the interest.
As the two are waiting to board a flight to Milan, a man attacks CR with a knife.
He was trying to kill you.
Yeah. Well, I hope it doesn't rain where we're going.
Grover realizes that he's missing his attaché case.
Better get on board. Oh,
I forgot my attaché case.
There isn't time. You'll miss your plane.
Yeah, save me a seat. I'll be right back.
He runs back for the case, which contains a spare probe scanner. This is the second time that I can recall Grover having a spare available. Is he the only one who carries a spare? Is it because he's such a klutz? As he's coming back to board his flight to Milan, he notices another plane is boarding for Zurich, Munich, and Vienna, and he boards that plane instead.
Grover, you're taking the wrong plane. The wrong plane.
He has a plan. Grover figures that if the missing woman is trying to get to Luxembourg, he's better off starting out halfway there.
Grover, I must confess you're a source of continuous amazement to me.
Yes, sir. Sometimes I think that's my primary purpose in life.
We now know without a doubt that C.R. Grover's choice of automobile is a Chevrolet Corvette. He was seen driving this same car with its roof off in the Short Circuit episode earlier in the season.
The 1972 Chevrolet Corvette Stingray was a rear-wheel drive sports car. The two-door coupe came with retractable T-top roof panels. The Corvette was equipped with a standard 350 cubic inch V8 engine. A 454 cubic inch V8 engine was available. Likewise, there was a choice of 2 4-speed manual transmissions in addition to an automatic. Car and driver road tested a 0 to 60 time of 6 seconds and a top speed of 137 miles per hour. The base price for a new Corvette Stingray in 1972 was $5,533. That's the equivalent of more than $38,000 today. The Corvette had an average gas economy of around 12 miles per gallon.
He's waiting at a gift shop when a tour bus arrives carrying passengers who had previously toured the Casa Lucchese the night Carla went missing.
They were just boarding that bus when Carla disappeared.
The bus driver is played by French-born Maurice Marsac.
Maurice Marsac was born in France on March 23, 1915. Maurice worked at the French embassy in London during the 1930s. He was with the French resistance during the early days of World War II. He came to the U.S. as a French wine salesman. His first film appearance was in an uncredited role as a French soldier in the 1943 film Paris After Dark. Maurice made at least one film appearance every year in the 1940s. His career seemed to take off in the 1950s, with both television and film appearances. He kept busy through the late 1980s, often playing a snooty French waiter. His final role was as the maitre d' in the 1987 film Dragnet. Maurice Marsac died on May 6, 2007. He was 92 years old.
Grover asks the driver if he left Casa Lucchese with the same number of passengers as when he arrived.
I arrive with 15 ladies. I leave with 15.
60?
A woman, played by Meg Wiley, contradicts that driver.
Excuses for me.
Grover then pulls the driver aside. During the scene of Grover and the bus driver that's shot through the door window, we can see a reflection of a lot of spectators dressed in warm clothing, apparently there to watch the filming. Grover attempts to bribe the driver to have him point out that extra woman. He resists at first, saying that he was already paid for his silence. But every man has his price, I guess. Carla is very suspicious when Grover introduces himself.
Mrs. Whitfield, my name is C.R. Grover. Your husband hired me to find you.
Do you have the car?
It's right over there, the yellow one.
Let's go then.
The two of them run over to Grover's vet, and they take off up the mountain, dragging a stuntman along with them. When that stuntman lets go, the two thugs get in their Mercedes, and they take up the chase.
Accelerate to the turn.
It took me a while to realize why she was telling Grover how to shift and take curves. It is his car. And when she said that she should be driving, I was thinking that she was just being bossy because she's a rich bitch.
Faster. I should have taken the wheel.
I've driven a car before.
Not at the mine.
But then she reminded us all that she's driven at Le Mans. I had forgotten that little tidbit of information. She talks CR through a tight curve.
Brakes, shift down.
The Mercedes behind them spins out on that curve. It was at this point that it dawned on me that Cam has been awfully quiet throughout all of this. Carla tells CR to make a sharp turn. They head down a back road and they come to a car that's waiting there for her. She's supposed to meet a man named Kurt. Unfortunately, Kurt is dead. Carla takes off in Grover's vet. Doug McClure's stunt double takes a brief bounce off the car's passenger side door, and if I didn't know better, I'd say it was Doug McClure himself. We come back in Act 2 and we finally need Cam for some exposition.
Who is he?
Kurt Von Hecht, Carla's one-time co-driver.
Why kill Von Hecht?
I wonder why they killed him off. I mean, he was just going to drive Carla to Luxembourg, and they only needed to delay her a few days. Luigi Lucchese drives up in a sports car, and he's followed by the two men in their Mercedes. Things are looking bad for Grover. But he's able to fight off both men, and he gets away under a footbridge. Those men are about to give chase, but Luigi says not to worry.
The man is dead.
So much unnecessary killing, Luigi. As Grover approaches the road, a car pulls up. It looks like a Citroën to me. There's an emblem on the door.
Get in quickly. Come along before Luigi's men catch you. Hurry.
I guess she's on his side. But I wouldn't trust her. In the next scene, we see Julian Whitfield burst into Carmine's room.
Nobody is permitted.
Carmine's nurse tries to stop Julian, but the old man allows it. He says he knows nothing. He's shocked to hear that Luigi would try to kill his sister. Back out on the road, the car that picked up Grover is stopped near the German border.
We're looking for a young American.
Contessa Lucchese uses a bit of reverse psychology on the border policeman played by Walter Zurlinden. It's his one and only on-screen appearance. The Contessa almost insists that the man search her car, but they are allowed to pass. When they stop the car again, a little way past the border, I can plainly see that the car is a Citroën SM.
With its aerodynamic French body and an Italian 2.7-liter Maserati engine, the SM is Citroën's luxury model that originally sold for somewhere around $13,000 or $14,000 in 1972. Compared to Nick Bianco's Jensen Interceptor, the Citroën SM is a tad bit slower in the 0 to 60, but it has a top speed a few clicks faster than the Interceptor.
When the Contessa lets Grover out of the rear hatch, he seems suspicious. I would be too.
You do have a suspicious nature, young man.
That might help me to get to be an old man.
What he needed right then was a telemetry specialist to tell him if she was being truthful. Where are Cam and company?
But you must know where she is.
No, not really.
The Contessa was just playing Grover,
I suppose it would be pointless to ask you again.
trying to find out where Carla went.
More than pointless.
He wishes he knew. She has his car. Grover honestly doesn't know, despite a chauffeur's gun being pointed at him. Grover's turn and kick move looks a little bit slow and awkward to me. I think that chauffeur should have had plenty of time to react and shoot. Either Doug McClure was doing his own stunt work, or they found a guy that looks almost exactly like him to do the job on this episode. I really can't tell, even on my 60-inch TV screen. Grover sends the chauffeur rolling down the mountain, and he takes off in the Citroën.
I'll return this later.
The Contessa picks up the chauffeur's pistol, and she fires 2 shots at the car before the gun is empty. We return in Act 3 to hear Cam give Grover an ear beating for stealing the Contessa's car.
In less than 6 hours, you've managed to inscribe your name on the wanted list of the police of 2 countries.
Yes, sir.
Of course, you'd want to find Carla Lucchese Whitfield.
I thought you'd understand, sir.
Except you haven't the slightest idea where she is.
Yes, sir.
He comes up with an idea to find Carla. Remember that spare scanner he brought along? It's inside the attaché case in his car. Track that scanner, and they'll most likely find Carla. Probe Control activates the scanner, and they locate it just outside Baden-Baden. When Grover catches up to her, a mechanic is explaining that she'd blown a gasket.
Blew a head gasket. You think I can fix it in a minute? And please don't smoke, it's not safe here.
I guess she pushed Grover's Chevy a little too hard.
Come, Luigi, tell him you found me.
Do we have to go through that again? What does it take to make friends with you? I stole it from your stepmother.
He can't be of much help now, though.
In another 2 minutes, you'll have all the proof you need. That stormtrooper is going to report the license plate, and they're going to tell him that the car is stolen. You can watch him march me off to jail. And you'll be up for grabs.
Our 2 fugitives hightail it out of there, but they need to find a way to cross the Rhine River into France. Grover steals a boat and some clothing. Why is it always a turtleneck and shorts when a TV or movie character steals clothing in Germany? They paddle across the Rhine into France, where Grover suggests to Carla that Julian might be there to meet them in Luxembourg. Cam takes the cue, and he gets right on arranging that. But I've got a bad feeling about that idea. What if Julian is being followed? Or Julian may be crooked. Grover steals a couple of bikes. He looks very wobbly as he's riding the stolen bike along the main road. Then he spies a truck parked alongside the road.
Go ahead. boat and 2 bicycles.
It's not as fast as the Porsche 917, but it's the best I could do under the circumstances.
I have to say, the producers are really getting their money's worth out of that chopper footage that was originally filmed for the Gold Machine. This is the 3rd episode to use scenes featuring that orange whirlybird. This time, it's filling in as a corporate helicopter owned by Lucchese Industries. They are dropping tear gas on the road in front of Grover and Carla's getaway truck. Grover says he can't see, and he's forced to pull over and stop the truck. They are captured. Act 4 begins at Stuart Upton's chateau, where Luigi and the Contessa are drinking a toast to their success.
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 Stuart Upton and a thug lead Carla and C.R. Grover into the room. It seems that Stuart is also in on this caper.
Welcome to Stuart's chateau. Oh, shall we say, we share a common interest.
Can't anyone be trusted in this episode? Will Julian save the day? Cam plots their escape.
Turn right in the hall 50 yards. Door on right to the garden. Head for the trees, slightly northwest.
Antique plate with modern 3-tumbler double paw lock. Suggest 12-centimeter curve detent.
He knocks out the guard, but in doing so, he loses his scanner. They're on their own now. An armed guard stops them in the courtyard, but Julian is able to come up from behind and knock him out. All 3 of them run to Julian's waiting Mercedes. Carla announces that this time she's doing the driving. Julian says that he's arranged to meet the judge at his home, in case Luigi has the courthouse staked out. I don't know, I'm still not convinced that Julian can be trusted at this point. Carla parks the car terribly far from the curb. I mean, she's halfway out in the street. I'd be surprised if she doesn't get a ticket parked there. Oddly, Julian lets himself in, and he disappears into a back room, leaving Carla and Grover alone in the room. They start moving chess pieces around on a chessboard. I think that's pretty rude, since it's obviously a game that was in progress. C.R. Grover picks up the white knight, and he palms it as Julian Whitfield comes out of the back room, pushing Carmine Lucchese's wheelchair. So I was right. Whitfield is dirty. He sold Carla out for $10 million. What a schmuck. Well, I guess you just can't get good help these days. Grover starts fidgeting. He's tossing that chess piece in the air. And when he drops it, he tackles the knife guy. Julian grabs Grover from behind, but Grover slams him into a wall. He tells Carla to stay out of it and head for the door. And then he pushes Carmine and his wheelchair away. The man with the knife is back for more. He takes a few punches, but it's hard for Grover to stay out of range of that very long knife. Grover grabs a chair and uses it much as a lion tamer would use one. He swings it to and fro, first at the man, and then back to smash a window. Grover jumps out of that window, and he punches a cop who happens to be standing there. I have no idea why. Another policeman is nearby, writing a ticket for Julian's illegally parked Mercedes-Benz. I imagine she got that marriage annulled. Unfortunately, 2 federal marshals have gotten inquiries about Grover.
Too bad. That's too bad.
I am suddenly available.
Oh, good.
I really enjoyed this Search rewatch. It had a lot of things going for it, an exciting script, plenty of action and intrigue, and a couple of attractive women. That wraps up another Old Joe's Reminiscence. If you liked this review, please hit the like button. And if you're not already a subscriber, please consider doing so. Remember to activate the notification bell. Then you'll know when I post my next video. Until next time, save it!